We're in Studio 2. We're going to call it Studio 2. We're in my basement, and we've scrambled. We've tried to make this as good as possible because I have, kind of once-in-a-lifetime guests. Although you guys have both been on the show, and Trevor, you were my first guest. Yeah. But I have Trevor Lewis, his father, Randy Lewis, and you guys just are so much of what Utah hockey is. And Randy, you like we talked about it before, like you guys in the spa out there just mentoring guys like me and all the youth that came up, and then obviously having a son that plays in the NHL. And Trevor, you've been out and consistently coming back, bringing the Stanley Cup here, coming back and running even my camps and all the stuff that you've done. So you guys, to me, are Utah hockey. We have some Utah hockey families. We have the Brickleys, we have the Mannix. We're getting some people. We have Buzz's family. Who am I forgetting, Randy?
Oh, the whole spa team, or
the whole spa team, basically. Yeah, right. Like, yeah, the spa team were like those are the people we looked up to growing up. Like you guys were the been there, done that generation, and like I didn't start hockey till I was 15 years old. So learning from you guys. But anyway, Randy Lewis, Trevor Lewis, how many years will this be for you in the NHL?
NHL will be 17.
17 years in the NHL. That's amazing.
I'm getting old. Yeah.
Means, yeah, you're getting old, but it makes me feel older knowing that. I was looking at like draft classes today. I'm writing an article on like how long it takes a first-round draft pick to make the NHL, because right now everybody in Utah, the only thing they know is T.J. Ginla, our first pick. He's going to be here. He's going to be playing. I'm like, nah, probably not. Yeah. Like I think he's going back to juniors. But like you got drafted, you're a first-round draft pick. Yep. What was it like for you as a first-round draft pick? How long did it take you to play your first NHL game?
So my year I got drafted, I went to training camp. I got sent back to junior pretty early. Once you go to your first training camp, you kind of realize like I got a lot to learn here. Went back to junior that year. After that year, I got called up for the playoffs in the AHL. Played the playoffs. The next year, I went to camp again. I think I got an exhibition game in that year. I was like, there's no way yet. And then the next year coming up, I was like, all right, it's time. I had a really good camp, but I got sent down again, and I ended up getting called up around Christmas time that year. And I think one of the Oscar Muller went to World Juniors that year, so I got called up. Played. I was there for a month and a half. Only played like 6 games. Sent back down. I think I made a good impression. Had a good summer that year, and went into training camp next year and made it.
So basically, your third year, you got as they say, you got a cup of coffee with the team here and there. Yeah. But then it was the third season you finally kind of broke through. Yeah. Did they sign you right away?
They signed me right away.
Why does that happen? And I don't really know why. I've been trying to explain it to other people, but like, why do you think the team signs Tej right away?
Probably just because you want to get him on a contract right away and not let him go 2 or 3 years without being on a contract.
Because there's a limit, right? Isn't it 2 years? If you don't sign within 2 years of being drafted, can't you go back to the draft?
I'm pretty sure it's 2 years. It might be 3 or 4 for college kids, but if you play junior, I think it's 2 years.
Yeah, the college kids have a different thing. Like if you're playing NCAA, you've got like 45 days after you graduate or your last college game or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure junior it's 2 years. I mean, it's been a long time since I remember. Yeah, it's 2 years. So I signed going back to my junior year, which I thought was awesome because I got a little pay and $50 a month from the team. So I was kind of the high roller back then, making $10,000. So, that was nice, but
get yourself a nice car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what did you bought the 300 or whatever?
SRT 81.
Oh yeah.
Big. But I went in thinking, I didn't really think about taxes getting my signing bonus.
Right.
So I went in and right to the dealership and like, get my check tomorrow. I'll pay cash for it. Didn't realize about the taxes, so I had to finance it after that.
That's another thing that a lot of people don't know about because they're like, like with Zach Parise, Zach signed for Zach got 1.3 up front and then 1.3 a year for 3 years.
Yeah.
He didn't get 1.3 million put in his bank.
Yeah.
Like it was probably about half.
So I think 2005,
It was,
2006.
it was before the lockout.
And after that, the signing bonuses went like first round used to get like $1 million, and we got I think 92 grand a year.
Yeah.
And that's max.
Right.
That's still.
And that's across the board.
Yeah.
That's the other thing people don't understand is it's across the board. Like everybody gets the same entry level deal.
Yeah.
The only differences can be maybe some like
salary. Yeah. You can get bonuses and stuff built into your contract. But I think you can go lower. But I think everyone signs for 800 and something in the NHL and then 70 grand in the AHL.
Yeah, like 10%.
Yeah.
And then you get hit with union fees, agent fees, taxes, and if you're playing in LA, the taxes, or Calgary or Winnipeg.
And then when you're in the NHL, you got to pay escrow too, so it's quite a bump out of the paychecks.
Yeah, see, and people don't understand that. I mean, you're still making it. You still make more than most firemen. You're just
you can't complain.
Yeah.
When you look at your checks, like, I'm not making all that.
Like, I thought I signed for this amount of money. Why is it not the amount of money I'm getting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way with the fire department.
Yeah. I had to learn that. I was like, what's going on here? And then I figured it out. But
Yeah.
it makes sense now.
Yeah, and that's good. And a lot of that money goes to, like, if, the union stuff, if guys get hurt or if guys need arbitration or, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's good. And I'm glad we talked about that because that's one thing that people ask me all the time. You're like, it's kind of a sensitive subject to talk. Like, for me, you can just Google.
Yeah.
And it's Utah's right to know, and you can know exactly how much money I make. And, like, but for a lot of people, they just don't understand other people's salaries.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a big deal nowadays. Like, guys are learning, like, Florida's got no state tax. So,
Right.
So, and then California's whatever it is. And
California's brutal.
Yeah.
California's basically Canada
Yeah.
when it comes to taxes.
So
And that's why everybody's bailing from Canada, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of, guys are starting to figure that out now. Like, you can sign for a lot less in another state, but make more. So
Yeah. Vegas is no income tax rate.
yeah.
Dallas.
Dallas, Nashville. It makes a lot of sense why guys are heading over there.
Yeah.
Same contract, more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same thing for me. Like, I'm looking at retiring now, and I'm like, if I retire and my residency is if I move to Vegas for half the year, that's a 6% raise right away.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us. I know that's kind of a weird conversation, but no, I appreciate it. Randy, talk to us about. We've talked a little bit about what it was like coming here when you first got here. What was the state of hockey when you first got to Utah?
There was very little.
Very little.
In fact, I didn't find out till I was in high school that they even had an ice rink here. IG ice rink. And then there was couple of club teams
Yeah.
from high schools, but combined. So there was maybe three, 4 teams.
So basically, if you played on a team here back then, you knew everybody that you were playing against, and you just played the same teams over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
But we did travel in high school.
like to where?
Well, Denver
Idaho?
and yeah, a little bit. We played Colorado College one time, our travel team.
Wow.
Their JV team.
Right.
They kicked.
Yeah, I bet.
It wasn't even the poor goalie.
So, how much when you were like growing up, like you're like, okay, it has to get better, because like we were talking about before I hit record here, you guys were our mentors. It was the spa. It was you. It was Matt Brickley. It was like your group that taught the rest of us coming up. And I think I was a couple generations back. So I think I'm not saying that you're old.
I am.
I'm just saying that you guys you influenced probably 10 years worth of people before I even started playing. Like, I'm a late start. I didn't start playing until I was 15. My freshman year at Murray, like I was at Hillcrest Junior High, and I got into hockey. I've told the story 1,000 times on this show, but I was a skateboarder. My friend Drew Radcliffe, rest in peace, told me, hey, we're going to go skate at this half pipe, but if you're going to go over and skate at this guy, he's the Murray High hockey coach, and so you're going to skate for a minute on his pipe in his backyard, but then you're going to have to play shinny hockey out in the circle. So that's how I got into hockey. And then as I decided the next year I was going to play ice hockey and borrowed pads from a guy named Jeff Tavey, or it goes by Jeff Elwell now. and he loaned me his pads. I tried out for Murray, and I made the team. And then I immediately went to a drop-in at Cottonwood Heights, and you were there. Brickley was there. I was like playing men's league or whatever. You guys were there, and I remember just getting yelled at for all kinds of stuff. Like not like you guys were teaching us the rules. I didn't know any of the rules. And how much of that did you consciously know you were doing to develop hockey? Like, did you know, like, very little?
Yeah, we were just playing and having fun,
Yeah.
hanging out.
And
The young kids that come in, just teach them to have fun.
yeah, and
Enjoy
that's
the game.
the important part, and that's the part a lot of people lose. And one of the things that I keep telling people, especially coaches, and something I learned from JP Parisi just told me the most. Like, my son was looking at playing at Shattuck St. Mary's when he was like in ninth grade, and JP Parisi said, "It doesn't matter where he plays, just make sure he wants to play. Like, make sure he's having fun. Don't still the passion for the game." And that's like the one thing I think playing with you guys and seeing how much fun you were having, and you guys always had such a passion for hockey. You
We
just
had fun on and off the ice.
and you still do, right?
Yeah, we still do.
Like, and it's amazing because you still are with like the core of you guys are still together.
The ones that are still alive.
The ones that are still alive. And again, Brickley, rest in peace. I'm going through the same thing. Canfield, rest in peace. Like, yeah, it's tough. Like, right? But it's the core of you guys are still together. The ones that are alive, and you get to pay tribute to the ones that aren't alive. Oops, I just bumped the camera. But talk a little bit about that and like how important that is to you as like therapy for life and just your life in general.
Yeah, you need that release.
Yeah.
Right? It's great to go skate, work up a sweat, have some fun, and then go have a few beers after.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, you guys get there early, have a little bit of pregame, and then I've stayed out there and like I keep texting my wife. I'm like, hey, game ended like 2 hours ago. I'm still deep in this conversation, and we're not going to make it back for a bit. So, Trevor, when you were growing up, you were around that nonstop, right? Do you think that helped like create your passion for the game? Like, did it feed off of his passion? Did you ever feel like you were forced into playing hockey?
No, I think the first time he told me, though, you're either going to love hockey or hate life. So I'm kidding. But no, I mean, we grew up in Cottonwood Heights right across the street from the rink. So every day after you get home from work, we'd go skate since I was 2. And, you know, when I could start playing, I'd come out on, I think it was Wednesday nights when these guys were all, you know, playing, and I'd go skate with them. And, you know, it was so much fun to be around guys that were like so much bigger and, you know, could set me up, and I could score some goals out there, and just thought I was a man. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up going to those skates since I can remember, and they'd send me home, watch me walk in the door, and then they'd go down the cotton bottom and have a couple beers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's where I grew up loving the game, and you know, I kind of played all sports growing up, and then at some point it was kind of like, okay, what do you want to do? And he didn't pressure me at that point. He just said, whatever you want to do. And, you know, I chose hockey and chose to move away. So
How old were you when this conversation was going on?
I think my 2 best buddies moved to Colorado Springs when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of
That was Gover
and Brad Peebley.
Okay.
So that was kind of when we started having the conversations, like, hey, if you want to go anywhere in hockey, like, it might be time to think about this. And, you know, I was a shy kid, so I knew I was going to be homesick and everything, but, you know, I loved it so much that I wanted to keep going and see how far I could get in it. It was a tough first 3 or 4 months moving away, but after that, you know, you're around your buddies, and like you said, like the locker room, there's nothing better than that, and everyone made me feel comfortable right away. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the important. Like, I tell people all the time, and even my nephew that just went on a mission, I'm like, hey, the first 3 or 4 months are going to suck, and you're going to think you can't do it, or that you want to go home, or that you're not making any friends, and then as things progress, especially if you're a hockey player, I don't know what it is about hockey that gives you that second family right away.
Oh, yeah.
I get that in the fire department too, but I don't see it like you know, my kids played other sports. They played basketball and soccer and whatever. And you know, they made some friends, but it's not hockey friends. It's not
Lifelong.
Like I can make a phone call right now, be like, hey, my basement flooded or whatever. And I know I'll have 10 hockey players. In fact, every time I've moved, it's been hockey players that said, hey, I'll be there. Just, you know, you supply the adult beverage and the pizza, and I'll be there. It's that family.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. I come back here now for the off season. I've been away for so long, and you know, only friends I hang out with are guys I played hockey with. So it's a tight knit bond, and you know, hockey players are great guys, and I just feel like it's like kind of like a family atmosphere, and helped me tremendously because I don't know if I could have done it without that.
Right. Okay, and I got hockey players are great guys. But now you're the father of a daughter. Are you going to allow your daughter to date hockey players?
I don't know. She's still too young to. I don't know about that.
That's one of the questions I had to start thinking about, and then especially when my daughter was at West Point, and she texted me. She's like, "Hey, I met this guy today. He's on the hockey team. He said he played juniors in like with the Fargo Force or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, don't date that guy. Don't date that guy that played juniors."
Yeah.
But then again, you know what's left? Football, lacrosse.
Yeah,
like, no, date hockey players. That's probably better.
No,
At least they're reasonable at some point. I know they're deviant, but at least they're my kind of deviant. I understand it.
At least we'll be able to hang out with them, right?
Yeah, we'll speak the same language. We speak hockey.
Yeah, we'll get along.
That's the other crazy thing is, like, you bump into people all over the world, and like I don't speak German, but I ran into Germans and they played hockey, and we spoke hockey for you know, that's the other part of it. Like worldwide, if you're a hockey player, that's all that matters, right? Like it connects you. So Randy, what was it like for you as a dad? And you're like, okay, my son's 14, all of his buddies just moved away. Were you ready? Like, I wasn't ready as a dad. Were you ready?
I've been thinking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
'Cause you know, if he wants to go anywhere, he pretty much had to leave the state back then.
Yeah.
To get seen.
Well,
So I've been thinking about it for a while. But when he went, so we just went over and tried out, and nobody knew who he was over there. Pikes Peak Miners.
no.
Nobody knew him, but after the first skate, they're going, "Who the hell is that kid?" And he made the team. So then you have to go, okay, now what? You got to move over there. And I wasn't in a position to move over with him. So he had to bill it. And you drive over and drop him off. And then you just sit there and go, am I doing the right thing? This is really, I'm not losing my son. I'm losing my best friend too.
Right.
You know, so that was I had to sit at the gas station for like an hour thinking about it.
Do you realize how tough it was on your dad? Like, you talk about being homesick.
Oh, I mean, I thought about calling him about 15 times in the first hour or so. Yeah, I mean, we like you said, we were best friends, and
Yeah.
we were always skating or playing catch or, you know, doing whatever in the backyard after work and on the weekends. So it was tough. I mean, I had a kid in there right away, and he had a couple girls that lived behind him, and he showed me them, and then it was kind of for a little bit.
Yeah, that part's nice.
Yeah, but I actually ended up moving. I actually came back for Christmas that year, and I didn't know if I want to go back. And one of my better buddies on the team, he said, "You know what? Just come live with me." And I ended up doing that, and they're such a good family for they weren't thinking about building, and they let me in, and it made a world of difference for me. After that, I was kind of settled, and you know, I still talk to him all the time, and we get along really well. So that was kind of after Christmas moving into with him. Kind of, I think it made my parents feel more comfortable too, and it just kind of eased me in. So it was good.
It's just one of those things you don't think about. And when I was leaving to play hockey, I didn't have that relation. I wasn't best friends with my parents, and I had a younger set of parents, and they were hippies and deadheads, and sometimes they remembered they had a kid, and sometimes they didn't remember they had a kid. So when the time came for me to leave to play hockey, I was like, "Hey, I'm leaving to play hockey." They're like, "All right, see ya." I don't even know if they knew. Like, even when I was playing in North Dakota and I came home, and my mom's like, "Oh yeah, there's another person that's from at the club that's from South Carolina. I'm like, Mom, I live in North Dakota. Like, so for me, it was easy.
Yeah.
When my kids left to do what they were going to do, when Tasia left for West Point, it destroyed us. Like, it was so hard because they're our best friends too.
Yeah.
And it's a different dynamic when you're that close with your kids. If you're not close, it's easy.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of those kids be successful either, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. There's something about being scrappy that sometimes pays off too. All right, so you play in Colorado for a while, and now the opportunity comes. How hard was it to make a junior team, and what was that like for you? And then we'll come back to what was that like for you. But how hard was it for you to get to juniors?
So I had 2 really good years for Pikes Peak. And then, started talking to a few junior teams, but even in Pikes Peak, we weren't seeing a whole lot unless we went to a big tournament. So, but we ended up having really good teams. And, after my second year, talked to a few junior teams in the North American League and the USHL. And my coach, Sean Hathaway, really helped me out a lot. He called some teams, and then even my coach before that, I had 2 different coaches there, and Mike Corbett helped out a lot just to, they had contacts around juniors and stuff. So I didn't know if I'd get drafted in the USHL, and that was back when dial-up internet was there. So we were watching the USHL draft, and I think it's like 20 rounds, or I don't even know how many, but it's a lot of rounds. And you have to refresh after every pick, so it's all day long. I'm just sitting there. I think he's at work. He calls me, get anything yet? No. I think I got drafted to Cedar Rapids in like the 16th round or something. So, it was cool, like just to be able to be drafted and stuff. But I went to camp. I got cut. So I ended up going to Texarkana in the North American League. I had to go down early because I was still in school. So I went there for 2 weeks, and then I got a call from Bob Ferguson, who was the coach of Des Moines in the USHL. And he's like, we just lost a guy. We'd like you to come play. And I didn't tell my coach. I didn't tell my school.
Tell me who your coach was in
Yes, John Cooper.
Oh, no way. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't tell him. I didn't tell the school. I called my mom and dad. I'm like, I was already an hour out the road. And my mom's like, you're not driving from Texarkana to Des Moines by yourself. So I think she flew and met me in like Little Rock. But John Cooper's calling me, all the way down the road. And I'm like, I'm shy. I'm too scared to answer. I'm like,
oh, wow. You soft quit the NA?
Because the season hasn't started. We hadn't even started practice or anything yet. And finally I answer, and he's like, let's give it a chance. Let's give it a chance. I'm like, I already made up my decision. And then, the first couple of years seeing him in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It's like, don't worry about it. It worked out well for both.
You clearly made the right choice.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many times, and recently I've been interviewing a ton of guys from our Utah Hockey Club, and it's crazy how many times they had the same thing. Like, I had to make a choice. Like, I had to pick this or that.
Yeah.
And it worked out, but I wonder how many people make the wrong choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do they become firemen? Is that what I did? I just never know.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's funny because John Cooper, his name comes up a ton too, because he's really close with Brian Smith. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know.
They're like neighbors.
Oh, really?
I wasn't gonna say that loud, but in a resort town, they're neighbors, and their other neighbors, Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
And they hang out together, and that's kind of how the hockey thing got started here. So, John Cooper's name gets brought up all the time in these other meetings I've been having lately.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and obviously he knows what he's doing. So,
yeah. I wonder, like, you probably still would have made the NHL. I just wonder, like, would you be playing for Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'll probably have a better chance.
Well, everything worked out better than any of us probably could have ever pictured. All right, so you make it to, we talked about this before, you make it to Des Moines.
Yeah.
And you have pretty decent season year one. You come home and
I actually ended up getting hurt. I hurt my knee like halfway through the year. I played like maybe half the games, and we were the worst team in the league. And Bob Ferguson ended up getting fired, and a guy named Reg Simon came in. At my end of the year meeting, he kind of was like, we need you to be a stud next year. You need to go, hit the gym, put on some weight, and be one of the better players next year. And, you know, I'm sure I'd work out a little bit in the summer, but never really took it serious. You know, I'd go out and play stick and puck or whatever. And that summer, I think I put on like 15 pounds of muscle, worked out every day, like really, really took it serious, and came back in a camp, great shape, and, you know, I had an unbelievable year. So
that's when the whole thing, like at the Buck Bowl, that's when everything started, right?
Yeah.
Randy and I talked about this when I had him on the show too, because I didn't even know the Buck Bowl had started. And I clear back when I was younger, my two roommates at the time, when I was at summer camp, ended up playing for Des Moines also.
Yeah.
And it was Peter and Chris Ferraro. I don't know if you ever heard of them. But anyway, they played in the Buck Bowl. I got to see it. I was like, that's really cool. I was really hoping to play a part of it. And I knew about it, and I was pretty excited about it. And then Buck Bowl starts, and my phone blows up. I'm getting phone calls from the head coach of North Dakota, the head coach of Michigan, guys that knew I was from Utah, that had known me as an equipment rep or whatever,
Yeah.
or knew me through the Parisis. And they're like, do you know this kid, Trevor Lewis? I'm like, yeah, I know. I've known Trevor since he was born, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want him. And I'm like, done deal. Like, I was with him all summer. Like, you had two offers, right? It was like
I had
Alaska.
Alaska, Anchorage, and Maine.
Yeah.
You know, Maine, they both been great schools, but far away from here, and I knew nothing about either place. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I'll take my chances and see if I can get anything else.
Yeah. And so then I'm like, oh, I'll just call Randy. And I didn't know, like, your phone was just busy nonstop. And then finally, when I got through, I'm like, hey, I've got North Dakota, I've got Michigan, Michigan Tech, or I can't remember, John Oliver. He was my coach in Idaho, and he was like, I want Trevor. I'm like, done, I'll get him to you. No problem. And I'm like, this is easy. And then I got a hold of Randy. Randy's like, everybody wants him all of a sudden. So I called John Oliver back. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, that kid's hitting everything that moves. He's improved. His skating's improved. He's one of the fastest kids on the ice. He's super physical, and he's like, nobody knew who your line mate was at the time either.
Yeah.
And they're like, those two, the dynamics between those two are phenomenal.
Yeah, you know what I think really helped was, you know, being the worst team in the league, you get the first draft pick the next year, and first draft pick was Kyle Okposo. And,
Yeah.
you know, at the Buck Bowl, I think it helped me tremendously that everyone was there to see him, and they ended up getting to see me too. So
Yeah.
it was pretty overwhelming. And growing up here, I didn't know anything about college hockey really. Like
Yeah.
I knew Colorado College because my billet brother, his brother went to Colorado College, and we used to go to the parties sometimes. And, but I didn't know anything, and I had stacks of bucks and cards like this, and my coach kind of sat me down after that, and he's like, hey, like, I think he sat both of us down, and he's like, this is going to be overwhelming, and I'll help you through it, but you need to get a financial advisor, they call it, or not a financial advisor,
Personal advisor
or whatever, who ends up being your agent. But
Yeah. Can't call it an agent at that point. Now you can, but back then you couldn't.
You didn't pay him or anything.
Right.
Yeah, so he ended up getting me in contact with and that's the other thing. There was 50 agents calling me, and I didn't know what an agent was. I was like, what's going on? I was a kid from Utah playing hockey.
Why do I need an agent? I'm not making money.
Yeah, so it was like between that and the schools, it was just like, what is going on? I have no idea what to do. And you know, my coach,
Yeah.
he helped me out a lot. He had worked with this agency before, and you know, just the people they had, the players they had. I was like, how can I turn this one down? So ended up working with them, and then we kind of went through everything. You know, picked 5 schools, went on visits, and then just kind of narrowed it down from there. So it was crazy, but pretty cool to think about now.
And who did you end up picking?
Michigan. It was
That's right.
between Michigan and Boston College. But Michigan was closer to home, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that was the deciding factor.
I was literally a coin flip. So
I was going to say, it's not like the one of the most legendary.
In his living room having coffee with us, so it was kind of like.
So Randy, what's that like for you? Like, you don't know, like, this is amazing, right? You go from 1 year, you have 2 schools. Like, this is pretty cool. My son's being recruited by 2 schools. And then the next year, it's nuts. And then you have some nobody like me calling you being like, hey, I've got your son's future all planned out. How about North Dakota?
Yeah, it was insane. And, you know, like I said, Jerry York sitting in your living room talking to Trevor, and he didn't stay very long for as far as he flew. You know, and he couldn't buy us dinner or anything.
Oh, right.
Can't. So
NCAA stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's all different now, right?
So he didn't stay very long, but he, you know, made a very impressive pitch. And then I don't know how the coaches know, but like, wasn't it 10 minutes after he left, Red Berenson called on the phone?
Wow.
He says, I don't make house calls, but if you want to play for me.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even if you don't know college hockey, most people know who Red is. Like, they've heard of him at least, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, I knew him. I
Yeah,
was a
well,
big fan.
yeah.
So I didn't know York. I looked him up before he came. He's one of the best coaches ever.
Right.
Right? How many championships he's won?
Did you have a preference of where you wanted him to go? Did you start being like, Trevor, I think this is what you should do?
Well, it's funny at the beginning. I wanted to go to Colorado College or Denver just because they're close.
Yeah.
You know, I knew Colorado College because they went to the games all the time. So, but both of them didn't end up having a scholarship till the next year. So I would have had to go back to junior for another year. And
Oh, wow.
I wasn't going to do that. So.
And most Utahns knew Denver because, like, one of our only kids, we had a Connor Walchuk go to Denver and we had Levy go to UConn, right? Or no, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that's like,
Johnson.
those were the only, Eric Johnson went to Denver as well. And so that's like Utah. Utah knows Denver and Utah knows like barely anything about college hockey.
Yeah. So yeah, those were my kind of choices when it all started, and you know they were in the mix, but I didn't know if I wanted to play another year junior. So yeah, then it was just kind of looking at who they got playing there, what I think my role could be, and then everyone's telling you the greatest things ever too. So it's kind of it was a tough process, and then it ended up being like 2 schools, and I think we were both just like, should we just flip a coin?
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Flipping a coin. Well, if you can't make a decision otherwise, that's
They're both really
They're
good
both
teams.
great schools. Like
absolutely.
I knew guys on both teams, both great coaches. I really had no idea what to do. I had fun at both my visits there. So, yeah, but family was closer, and my agency was right in Toronto too, so they could have been at a lot of games and stuff. So we just ended up picking Michigan, and
Then it never
actually went, but
never went because you ended up getting drafted, and LA's like, this is what we want you to do now. We know what's best.
well, I think that whole story is at the combine. Before I got drafted, Philly in my meeting was like, if we drafted you, would you go play junior? And I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes. Like, I didn't grow up dreaming of playing college hockey. I didn't really know what college hockey was. Like, I didn't know. I had no clue about junior hockey. So
Right.
I don't really know that was the same thing. Like, I don't know, but I was like, whatever it takes. If you guys think that's better route, then so Philly was going to draft me 22nd, but Ron Hextall ended up moving from Philly to LA that year.
I didn't realize that.
And then, so LA ended up moving up to the 17th pick and taking me.
Yeah.
And kind of wanted me to go that route too.
Wow.
So he had to give his full ride scholarship back. I
But-
think he's the only person to ever do that.
How do you feel about that now?
Well, now it's great.
How did you feel about it then?
It was a little like he had his education paid for.
Yeah.
That's a big future thing, right?
Right.
But now he won 2 Stanley Cups.
Right.
Poor
Like it
man.
paid off. But it's one of those,
Yeah,
man.
it was tough for me. I was like, oh, I don't know if this is the right decision.
It's so hard to know. Again, going back to those decisions, it's so hard to know like what the future brings. And I guess I just have to go with what Ryan Smith has been telling me a lot lately as we talk about stuff. And he's like, if it's there, you got to take a shot. If it's a risk and the rewards on the other end of it, you got to go for it. Because if you don't, you'll wonder the rest of your life if you didn't take the risk.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a scary risk. It's not, I'm not dropping $1 billion on an NHL team or anything like that. But that's what he's talking about. Like, and that same risk, like it's a risk, but at the same time, you're like, hey, this is the NHL or Ron Hextall telling me to do this. Ron Hextall is why I'm a goalie.
Yeah.
That's the guy I saw. I saw the first NHL game I ever saw was Edmonton, Philly. So I saw Grant Fuhr, Ron Hextall, and I'm like, I'm doing that.
Yeah. Another funny thing about Hextall was, so I was out Des Moines helping out for the next year at tryouts and, helping out Reg and kind of pushing pucks around. And Hextall's kid was in tryouts. And I was sitting up top watching a scrimmage or something with Reg, and he goes, that's Ron Hextall. You better go introduce yourself to him. And this is my draft year. This is before the draft. And I had I think 28 meetings in my combine, and I was NCAA then, so you can only be there for 36 hours or whatever. So it was one day I had 28 meetings.
Jeez.
With like every team except for Detroit, who was my favorite team growing up. But like I forget everything because it's just like nonstop questions, and some of the questions aren't easy. It's like some crazy questions.
Right.
But, so I didn't remember anything. I didn't even remember. I would have never even thought Ron Hextall unless I got up close to him. So I went up and, I introduced myself and just said, I was a big fan and everything. And he just kind of looked at me and said, all right. And then the next thing you know, he's my assistant GM in LA.
I traded up for you, yeah.
To move up to get him.
Oh, yeah. That's who got moved for you, is Pavel Dimitri?
Yeah, it was Pavel Dimitri from my pick and Patrick O'Sullivan.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. That's just so crazy. So I don't think I knew you were a Detroit fan growing up. I just assumed you were a Calgary fan because,
No, I was Detroit, like all those Colorado, Detroit things. Like me and my best buddy, every game they played, we'd be in the basement with our Detroit jerseys on and going crazy.
So what was that like for you, first year NHL playing against Detroit in Detroit? Or when did you get to?
Second game.
No way, really?
First goal.
First goal.
Joe Louis Arena.
No way.
Datsuk, Rafalski, they're all on the ice. It's pretty cool. I have this score sheet. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the lineup that was all on the ice was like guys that like I loved.
But you'd idolized.
This was my second game. So I was playing fourth line my first game, played really well. Second game I moved up, played with Kopitar and O'Sullivan. It was like my second shift of the game. Scored, Joe Louis Arena, and then I think they beat us 8-1. But yeah, that was like unbelievable too. So
But you also got a Nick Lidstrom autographed stick.
yeah,
The game used stick.
Oh, wow.
He was kind enough to.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, what's the taboo of that? Like, if you're an LA King and you're a Red Wings fan, are you like, hey, can I get your autograph? Hey, like.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys like collect sticks from like, guys that are gonna be in the Hall of Fame or whoever. But yeah, just kind of either tell the equipment guys, hey, can you give me this guy's stick? And so they ask their equipment guys, or I mean, if you line up against them, like, hey, can I get your stick
Before the face-off? Wow. Because you see it in soccer.
or the warm-ups or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, most guys go through like the trainers and stuff.
Yeah.
But like some guys, they don't like to give up sticks either. So
Did you ever have an autograph for somebody?
No, he won't.
Oh, okay. How many autograph sticks do you have in your collection?
The only guy I have from another team is Lidstrom.
And then
I have like Vinny Lecavalier I played with, got his. Again, I got his.
Oh, really?
when he was in LA, and then before I retire, I'll get Kopitar and Doughty's.
Should get Crosby and Ovechkin, but he won't do it.
Yeah. Are you fans of Crosby or Ovechkin, or is that just your dad?
Oh, Crosby, yeah. Crosby's the best, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, be cool, but I'm not much of a guy to ask her in a face.
Too shy.
So, no.
Are you still shy?
No, not that bad, but I just, I'm not. I'm in game mode. I'm not going to ask for a stick. So
That's the part I was wondering about. It was the game mode, right?
I ask my trainers, and if they can't get it done, then I'm not going to get mad at them. So
Right. Because everybody wants Ovechkin's stick.
Yeah,
Everybody
I mean,
wants Crosby's
Crosby's
stick.
probably giving out 4 sticks a game, you know. So
Yeah.
he's probably only gives it out to certain guys nowadays. And
You know what's crazy? Like, I ran that for 2 years. I ran that charity for Parisi in Minnesota at Shattuck, and we had Crosby and his dad and a bunch of guys in there, and I never got anything. Like, I had them autographed jerseys that we gave out during the thing, and I never got an autograph. And then all the stuff I did have autographed, like, because I was with Pavel Datsuk for a bunch of stuff, you know, with the H2O Overdrive stuff, and he autographed a ton of stuff. And when we were moving to this house, my wife's like, we're leaving everything. We've hired a company to go in and give out everything that I used to own, got donated to a different charity. We came with nothing. I have no memorabilia. I have no, it's so, and I think about it at the time, I'm like, I'm for it. And then I start looking back.
Now you're going, oh, I wish I still had that.
I kind of do, and I kind of don't. I love not having any clutter. But Randy, if you could have one autograph, who's
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky?
I got that one.
You got that one.
I played golf with him.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, like,
Why didn't you play golf with him?
I wasn't.
that guy's the best guy. Like,
Yeah,
talk
he's
about hockey guys. Like, I was so. Kopitar one day goes, "Hey, we're going up to Sherwood to play golf." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "No, we're going up to Sherwood to play golf with Wayne Gretzky." I'm like, my stomach drops. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I'm like so nervous. We're having, you know, I had to have a couple beverages in the clubhouse before because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to tee the ball up in the first hole. So we show up. All of a sudden, Wayne comes up with his wife played with us, Janet, and another one of his buddies. And first hole, I'm literally looking at the ball, and I'm like, just make contact. Just make contact. I ended up hitting a beautiful shot, and I'm like, whew. So all the pressure's kind of off. But, like, just, like, being with him, like, you know, telling some of the stories, like, making me feel like a part of him, and like, just, like, he's just a hockey guy. He wants to make you feel comfortable. But anyways, so we go through the round. I'm like, Hopi, like, we got to go have dinner with him or a drink or something. Like, and it's Wayne Gretzky, and he's like, oh, I'll see. And I think it was the election day or something, and he was big into it, and he's like, I gotta go watch the rest of it. Sorry, guys. You can go out and play another round on me if you want, whatever. So we go start grabbing our clubs, and all of a sudden he just comes up, he goes, has me a scorecard and says, Trevor, great playing with you. Shakes my hand, and I didn't even look at it until we got in the car, and it just says, all the best, Wayne Gretzky 99.
Wow.
Like that, he doesn't know how much that means, but that is the coolest thing ever.
I wonder. I bet he does know how. I bet he does.
Do it though, like.
But I mean, you're an LA King. You've won Stanley Cup. Had you won 2 cups at this point?
Yeah.
And like, it's just weird to me because you're.
Yeah, but it's Wayne Gretzky.
I know. I totally get that part too, because it's just like.
Oh, he's such a great guy. Like.
I've met him a couple times, and I think I told you the first interaction I ever had with him, and I was at the rookie tournament handing sticks out for you guys. I was at the LA Kings rookie tournament when you were a rookie, and he owned Phoenix at the time. And me and a guy named Rob Laurie, who's also been on the show, he was the Louisville rep. He's been a guy, he was a pro player too. Anyway, we're both goalies, and we're sitting there talking about one of Phoenix's goalies, right? And I'm like, I'm amazed by this kid. I think he was out of Cornell. He ended up playing for the Grizzlies. And I can't remember his name right now. I really got to remember his name. But I'm saying all this stuff, and Rob's saying all this stuff, and this guy behind us is like, well, do you really think that it's his movement, or is he reading the play before it happens? And I turn back, I'm like, you know what, man? It's like, and then it's Wayne Gretzky, and I'm like, you know what, man? I know nothing. I know nothing. I don't even want to talk anymore. I don't know what to say. And he was just so cool.
He's the best. I mean, it's just like he's such a good guy, but he's Wayne Gretzky.
He's the great one.
The great one.
Yeah.
So, like, it was so cool.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I had my chance during one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Came out of the family room, and there was Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier standing right there, like this close. And I just froze. I couldn't say anything. I just stood there and looked at him, and didn't say hi, didn't do anything.
That's funny.
Starstruck.
Yeah, and you don't think you'd get starstruck, especially, like I said, your son's a 2-time Cup winner. You're around these guys all the time. You're friends with Kopitar.
Always guys I'm
Yeah,
friends
but
with.
then it just seems like for some reason those guys are the next level.
Yeah.
When Tegan was little, he was a J.S. Jaguar. Like, he just worshipped him. He wore his pads. We had his stuff everywhere. And I was doing my equipment rep thing. I went into the locker room, and I had just bought a Jaguar jersey the game the night before. And Tegan was in the stands wearing it at the Anaheim Ducks practice facility. And I said, hey, I know I'm not supposed to do this. My son's in the stands. And if you just say hi to him, and I said, he's wearing a Jaguar jersey. You'll know who he is. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And he goes up and he goes to Tegan. He goes, hey, man, nice to meet you. And Tegan just immediately froze. He's like, do you want me to sign your jersey? And Tegan's like, no. He just froze. Of course he wanted his jersey autographed by his idol, but he didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, Tegan, that was your shot. That was your chance. So is there anybody else that you want to get right now? You said Crosby and...
I mean, yeah, I'd love to get Crosby, Ovechkin, all the stars. So, but no, for my team, I'd Doughty and Kopitar, and I'll get theirs before this year's up.
Yeah. Well, you know who? The only guy that I actually really think at this point in my life that I worship as a player and that I just look up to and I talk about all the time, I try to be like on the ice, is Quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at some point I thought I would meet him, but I still haven't.
Yeah.
So if
let me know if you're in New York.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, that's our second game with the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it is?
yeah. So we play here on the 8th, and then the 10th we're in New York against the Rangers.
Oh, so you get to go up there.
Yeah.
He's a
So
great guy.
I can't. I'm gonna try and meet him. I don't think I can on my side though, but like that's the guy. Like for me, Gretzky's amazing. All these guys are amazing, but I think Quick revolutionized goaltending.
Yeah.
I think the way he played in those when you guys won the cup was.
There's no one else you'd want in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs than Jonathan Quick.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to see
Or down 3-0.
yeah.
Right.
Jonathan Quick.
Right. Like
The next 4 games.
he's unbelievable.
yes, and that's my opinion, and that's my guy. Right.
Plus, he's a fantastic human being.
And that's all I've heard. Like, I've just heard he's an amazing person. And I've been a Kings fan since 2002. Was that when you got drafted? 01? 06. When you got drafted in 06, I became an LA Kings fan. I've been, I just showed you my closet as we were walking around. If you would have looked at it, like half my wardrobe is LA Kings.
Yeah.
And when they traded him and the way they traded him and the way he found out about it, similar to the Marc-Andre Fleury thing, I was just so disappointed. And so, that hurt as a Kings fan and as a Quick fan in particular.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, Randy, you've kind of became, everybody knows who you are. Like, the whole team knows who you are. The media knows who you are.
They don't anymore.
Well, you're back now. Like,
They're all
everybody's back in LA.
now 30 years younger.
That might be true. It's funny because on the preseason game, I got to meet a bunch of when the Kings were playing here in the preseason game, and I was doing the media thing. And the first year, I got to meet everybody, and then the second year, I e-bugged, so I got to meet even more people.
Yeah.
And then last year, I went in and I'm like, everybody's different. Everybody here wasn't here last year. Deer seemed to everybody moves on, and but you're still. You're always on TV. You go to a game and they're like, oh, there's Trevor's dad. Put him on TV. He looks like he's having a good time.
More people in the building than I do, that's for sure.
How many games do you get to go to a year? And how many of those first games that he played were you at? Were you at Joe Louis when he scored?
No, there was a huge snowstorm. I
Oh.
tried to get to Buffalo for his first game, but
There was this like crazy snowstorm. I didn't even know if we were going to be able to get to Detroit. So.
Yeah, I couldn't get out, so I couldn't make it. So I had to wait till I went back to LA. First time I saw him.
Oh, wow.
But saw it on TV.
Yeah, I think I did too. How many games a year do you try to get to?
I try to make it. Not enough, that's for sure. But
Yeah,
probably 8 or 9 games.
yeah.
Been down a couple of times.
It's tough, right? Like you've got a job. What do you do for a living?
I work for a medical device company,
Nice.
so I'm
Yeah.
just about ready to end that.
Yeah. Just
Retire.
gonna retire and enjoy it.
Yeah,
But you're
just in time for him to retire.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're just about to retire too. But that's the assumption.
Yeah, I don't have any plans to retire.
I was gonna say that's just an assumption. Like 17
just saying,
years. Why don't you push it
Couple
out?
years.
Yeah.
I should have retired 10 years ago and gone to all the games.
Yeah. Before we talk about retirement and what's next, I want to talk a little bit about like the two of you. Let's go to Cup 1, and let's talk about the moment you get the cup and you look for your dad.
Mhm.
Like what's that like for you, and how hard is that not to just like bawl your eyes out? And then what's that like for you? We'll start with you.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the first, because I kind of knew the section, because usually when him and my wife and stuff are in the crowd, like, I'll peek up and see kind of where they're sitting and stuff, but that had so many people and everyone was on their feet for so long. I knew, like, the section area they were in, and but I couldn't find them, but that's kind of right where I went, and I mean, that's
That's because we weren't there.
yeah,
They
were all
ushered
people-
us down to the ice.
they're all getting wheeled down to the ice. So, but yeah, just to finally be able to lift that thing over your head was like, I mean, it felt like a feather at the time. But
Yeah.
it was, and I think I got it passed from Brad Richardson. So it's kind of cool because we were really good buddies too. So
Was that a dream of yours though? Like I know maybe that's a stupid question, but it just seems like, hey, I just want to make the NHL. Were you a guy at Conwood Heights on the ice being like, it's game 7 overtime and Trevor Lewis is like, was that the dream or was it just to make the NHL? Yeah?
at the time it was, playing street hockey in the Conwood Heights parking lot. Me and my buddy, every time it'd be game 7 and, he'd be goalie and I'd be player and then we'd switch and, I think that's every hockey player kid's dream is
Yeah.
just to be able to hold the cup. So, I mean, back then, like I didn't know if it was actually possible.
Right.
But that was my dream for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get Brad Richardson's hands you the cup.
Yep.
You take a lap, look for your family.
Yep. Take a lap. Look for the family. I don't even know what I said. It was like, you just kind of go back through everything about, what it took to get here, like how many people helped you, how much your family sacrificed for you. It's like, I mean, I'm getting a little emotional right now. It's
How
It's-
exhausted you were.
like, it's crazy. I mean, and then the group of guys you do it with, like that's insane. So yeah, do a lap around, and I think I ended up handing it to Alec Martinez, who I came up with, and and I'm still good buddies with too. So I got the chills right now talking about it. But
Yeah, me too.
yeah, it's
I wasn't even there. I was watching it from a firehouse.
pretty special. So
So then, did you get to you're being ushered down? Did you get to see the cup handed to him?
Yeah. We
And
were down by the glass by then.
And what was that like for you? Was that your dream too?
Well, yeah. That's always
Like I know it's kind of a stupid question, but sometimes like you don't.
to be able to lift this or just have my son lift the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
It's still unreal. It's something it's hard to explain. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then you go on the ice and he hands me the cup later when everybody else is through with it. He has to have a hand on it, but I've still got that picture. It's my favorite picture ever.
yeah. I can't only imagine.
On the ice at the Staples Center.
Yeah, good lord.
Center ice.
And again, like I know it's a dumb question, but it's just because sometimes you don't think about the other part of it. You're like, I just want him to be in the NHL. I just want him to get a college scholarship. And I was trying to tell Tegan this a long time ago. Like, it's so much more nerve-wracking to watch your son start a game than it is to start a game. Like, at any level. To me, it was so much harder, and I don't know why. Like, you have zero control of it, and I always knew he was way better than I was, and he was calmer about everything than I was. But for me, it was just so hard to watch. And, like, the emotions, and then to watch your son lift the Stanley Cup's got to just freaking be amazing.
I lifted him off his skates.
I don't know. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I'm doing an interview on Hockey Night in Canada, and he's kind of standing with me, and he just, my kid just won the effing Stanley Cup right on the TV.
That's right. That sounds right.
Someone sent it to us that recorded it too, so it's kind of cool.
That is cool. That's awesome. You get an FCC fine. It's like, I think it's $750 to drop the F-bomb one time on the radio. I know I've been fined a couple of times. Yeah, you get
paid for his fine.
Perfect. All right, so I think I've kept you guys a lot longer than I thought I would get with you guys. Let's talk about this past summer, and and we don't even really need to get into Utah hockey. I like, it would have been cool for you to play here, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think? Did you ever in your wildest dreams think NHL would come to Utah?
I didn't know.
I didn't either.
I mean, it was always I always thought it would be awesome, but I never thought it would come.
Yeah, I was just praying that we'd get the AHL back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I really wanted the A back. I never even, and people are like, oh, your dream must be coming true. And like when I was talking about with the Stanley Cup, I'm like, no, I never dreamt that far. Like, I was so pumped that we got a team in Vegas. That's close.
Yeah.
I could just drive to Vegas and catch a few games. That's my team now. Trevor wasn't with the Kings anymore, so I could like start buying some things. My oldest son lives in Vegas, so we were going to some Golden Knights and Silver Knights, and I'm like, that's good. I'm going to retire and go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Because that's where the NHL is. That made sense to me. And then in April, I get a phone call from some billionaire that says, hey, come meet with me. Let's talk about this. Like, there was a lot of steps before that phone call. Like, 3 people vetted me out before I got the be at the Delta Center at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's mind-boggling to me that it's here. You were a free agent. I talked to your dad. I'm like, we should make this happen. This is the end of the fairy tale.
Yeah.
Or the next step in the fairy tale. We don't keep meaning to say this is your last season. I hope you get your 18 and 19. But it just seemed like next step, Trevor Lewis should be here. What were you thinking that too?
You know, I've been a King for so long. I feel like that's kind of my family now, and they've been so good to me my whole career. And I knew kind of if I had a chance to go back, that's where I'd want to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, you think about it. Like, of course, like my family's here, my kids could stay here. My wife's got her sisters here and everything.
Twin sister, right?
Yeah. So like sure, I thought about it, but I just think, you know, LA's been so great to me and my family, and they're kind of like everyone there is like our family now. So I think it worked out best for me. I mean, it would be cool to play here for sure, but there's still time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets his 1000th game in LA, where it should be, right?
Yeah. Well, I told you when Robitaille was on the show a couple years ago, and I said, come on, like, you said, like, Trevor Lewis is playing in Winnipeg. And he said, no, that's a numbers thing. Trevor Lewis, in my mind, is a king for life. And we want him back. If he doesn't come back as a player, we want him in the front office. That's the kid we want around our players. When I'm developing our players, that's recorded. Anybody can look that up. He spoke so highly of you, I thought, it seems like if you're the GM, you can make it happen somehow. And they did. Like, it finally, it's just weird how things work out.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. We did that sports expo thing, and we talked about like the perfect place for you is LA. Like you are an LA King, and for 15 of the 17 years, 14, whatever, you've been an LA King. That's a long freaking career. The average NHL career is less than 4 years.
Yeah.
And for you to have all that in one organization and then to come back, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I know last year when they called in free agency, it was, I think, the first question my agent said was, they just want to know if you'd be interested in coming back. You kidding me? And then I went and asked my wife. I was like, "Hey, would you want to go back to LA?" And she started bawling, like crying. She was so happy. So, I mean, I'm just happy that there's still the same people in there that when I left that thought highly of me and enough to bring me back. So, it's worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, I guess. Well, I don't want to delve on it too much. I guess we've already talked about it. What do you think this is going to mean for hockey in Utah now? How about an NHL team here now?
I think it's going to make hockey grow substantially here. I mean, you get a new rink here too, and you kind of feel the buzz around town now. So it's.
Do more people recognize you now?
A little bit, but I don't know. I only come back for so long, so I've been here a little longer this summer. And,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but more so around the rinks and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it will be awesome for hockey here. I just think kids are going to get a chance to see NHL hockey and see how cool it is to go to a game. And someone that doesn't know anything about hockey goes to a game and they're hooked. So yeah, I think it'll be great.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's going to grow. The youth game is going to, every NHL city has a great youth organization.
It's one of the things. It's funny, and maybe I should spend way less time on social media reading comments, because like I'll post something, and then you've got all these just absolute negative comments, and it's like people just love to troll, and I shouldn't fall for it.
Yeah.
But to read some of the comments like, "Oh, it didn't work in Arizona," well, it did work in Arizona, and it was working in Arizona, and it produced Austin Matthews. Just to name one.
Yeah.
Just happens to be one of the best players in the NHL right now, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been there if the Phoenix Coyotes hadn't been there. And people talk about it watering down the market. I feel the exact opposite. I feel like if you come into a market with like Utah, that we have this is an athletic state.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, here's the NHL. This is what it looks like. And you have way more youth get into it. Now, instead of playing church ball, they're playing hockey.
Yeah.
And we keep putting people in the NBA and Major League Baseball or whatever. We've only put a few guys in the NHL, like 10 years apart.
Yeah.
But I think in 10 years from now, I think you'll see Utahns being drafted. I don't think we're diluting anything. I think we're adding to a talent pool. We're going to find athletes that would have been playing other sports otherwise.
All the top athletes will start playing hockey now.
Yeah.
Instead of other sports. So you're going to have some really good players, especially with all the rinks coming in.
Yeah.
Got the 2 new ones going. Just started that.
Double sheet at Southtown at the mall. There's a new rink up by Camas,
Yeah.
like 5 minutes from the Park City rink, but still,
Yeah.
2 rinks right there. We're going to pack those. There is a rink being built in St. George. I know there's talks of Harriman and like the Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs area.
Yeah, I mean, even coming back now, like for me to get ice in the summer is a lot harder than it used to be. So
I thought it was weird when you texted me. You're like, "Can you get ice?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Can't." Yeah, I mean, I can. Maybe.
Yeah,
Seems like
it was like I think they were shutting down the oval to build it for
yeah.
the team this year. So that's where I was getting it kind of no problem, and then I was like, I don't know where to get it anymore. So yeah, I had to text you and see if you had to
Yeah, it's crazy.
Murray could add a rink on the side there if they.
So, and that's the other thing. I actually mentioned this. I think I put it in an article. When I first came back and started playing here before the Olympics, they showed me the Murray rink and they showed me Weber State, and they said these rinks are built with the plan of if we grow, you just knock that wall down.
Yeah.
And the compressor can handle both. At the time, that was the pitch. And we were already put in a second rink, and that's not where they said they were going to put it. They just said same thing. And if it grew to the point where you could just, these walls come down, they're not weight bearing or load bearing, and then you could just throw more seats, another sheet if you needed, so we could go from 3,000 to 10,000 if we needed to. And that was the plan back then. And it seems like we're getting to the point where we need to start knocking down some walls, building some more ice. And I think with the NHL here,
it's going to go nuts, I think.
Were you surprised to hear how fast the team sold out? Like the season tickets were gone?
I wasn't surprised at that, no. I thought I think Ryan's a pretty smart guy. He probably had a pretty good idea too. So, but I think it's a great sports town too. And, only with soccer and the Jazz really. So,
yeah.
I thought it'd be great, and it did really well. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about it. Obviously.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Only thing I don't like is all the people that are coming into town now. The roads are. It took me an hour to get here today.
Yeah, it's insane, and it's the traffic's been crazy. Utah is growing. I was on it, and the roads aren't. Yeah, I was on the plane the other day when I was flying to Denver to see Sammy Hagar at Red Rocks, and the person next to me was talking about Utah. They were just happened to stop through there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we heard you got an NHL team." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, we live in California right now, but we were thinking we'd move here." I'm like, "Oh, I don't think like it's not good here. You should just." Have you heard of Texas? While you're in Colorado, you should check out Colorado. I'm pretty sure we're full. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I can't thank you enough for being here and giving us the time. And I freaking love your story. I love your relationship. I hope that every kid that listens to this episode has this father-son relationship or parent relationship. And I hope some 8-year-old and 10 years from now, when they're a first-round pick and they're like, I'm going to hand the cup to my dad like Trevor Lewis did. I hope that becomes the Utah goal.
Absolutely.
It'd be awesome.
It would be awesome. Yeah. And I think
I hope I'm still alive when he passes the cup to us.
I hope so, too. Just keep living right. I'll keep seeing you at the rink every week. And, I just saw a thing about the people that live the longest have some kind of participation in sports, and it was like they were going down on the sports that people keep playing. They're like racquetball increases your lifespan like by this much, by 4 years or whatever, and they're like tennis was by like 6 years, and they're like for some reason ice hockey, even with all the injuries, increases your lifespan by like 11 years.
Oh, I'm quitting.
But it's just like, man, I think it's all of it. I think it's the whole package. I think you get out and you get the exercise. And I think it's the spirit. Yeah, it's like that. You've got your friends, and it, like you said before, that's your vent, that's your therapy, and you just need it. It recharges your batteries for the week. You go out and you do whatever job you do, and then like I have to skate 3 or 4 times a week, just because otherwise I'd be insane. You think I'm crazy now? Like at least I've got this right.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I hope everybody sees it and just keeps, you guys have, Randy, you've done so much for this market. Like, I don't know if you ever will acknowledge or feel it, but your group has done so much. And so many of us that came up in your shadow that had to turn around and be like, I got to be nice to this kid because Randy Lewis was nice to me. And that's how it's supposed to, that's what I thought. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. The kids that are on the ice now, I got to pass to them. Or whatever, because that's how the older guys did it for us. And then to break down barriers and have your son play in the NHL. And then, Trevor, you come back every year, and you're awesome with the kids here. You've spent so much time. You bring the cup here twice. Like, you guys have done so much for this. And I just, from everybody here, thank you. I think you're the reason we have the NHL.
Well, I appreciate what you do, too.
Yeah.
You get the word out, and you're good at it. So I
have a lot of fun with this. I feel like I don't even know if this is giving back. I feel like I'm still taking because I get to have all these. Like I get to interview. I got to interview local overtime. Yeah, I get to talk hockey, and I get to
my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's my
stories like.
I can't believe I tricked KSL into paying me to talk about hockey for this long. It's been 8 years now, and they still pay me.
That's good.
Yeah, I make dozens of dollars doing this. All right, guys. Anything else you want to say before I let you guys go?
Yeah, I love you, buddy.
Oh, yeah, I love you guys too. All right, and that is the Utah Puck Report. Want to give a special thanks to Chipman Roofing. These are hockey people supporting the hockey community. It's Chipman Roofing. For all your roofing needs, just check out chipmanroofing.com. And if you like what you hear on the podcast, please leave a review, leave a rating. Wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you give us a rating. Like to check out KSLSports.com as well. There's going to be more hockey on there. As more hockey comes up, it's going to be always right there, KSLSports.com. Big thanks to Madison Miller for putting up with us.